Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is my monthly music finds. Got a nice little assortment of stuff here. Like really been cutting back this year compared to last year. I was kind of going crazy last year with a lot of purchases from Whatnot, which is the auction app that's out there that a lot of vinyl community members use, and it's a great platform to find records and to find cool things that you might not see at your local shop, but I've really been holding out on that. I've actually traded in a few records that I had, some duplicates, some things that I had upgrades of, just that kind of thing. Nothing that's going to blow your mind or anything like that, just some stuff, your $5, $10 kind of records. And I've been doing that with a few of my local shops. A couple of records here I picked up, or some CDs, I should say, I picked up as a result of some trades. And then I got quite a few gifts from a couple of different people this month. So let's just jump into it. I will start. Let's do a few CDs here. Just the other day, I took in some records, got a very small credit, a $35 credit from the store for, inventory in their shop. And so I went ahead and bought some things that were new for this year that I didn't know if I was going to buy or not. But I was like, you know what? These are pretty much free. It saves me from buying them. So I'm okay with just having these on CD. The first is going to be the new album by Mumford & Sons called Prize Fighter. Now, I love the album art there with the old like Zippo cigarette lighter. Mumford & Sons, I think this is their sixth album. Obviously, they kind of came into being around 2009, 2008-ish with that album, Sigh No More. Then they had the, equally as popular follow-up, Babel. They were all over. I mean, they were top 40, hits when they came out. I was in middle high school, and then in college is when a lot of my friends were listening to them. I kind of got away from Mumford & Sons. They had a couple of albums that were a lot more pop-based, which is hilarious because they kind of come out at the same time as groups like The Head and the Heart, who also took the pop route, and I enjoy it. So maybe I need to go back and give the pop albums a chance. I think I was just a little bit more impressionable as a youngster. And so I've heard a couple of the clips from this album, and I thought it sounded pretty good. I will say the one complaint that I have with it, again, it's good kind of indie folk rock. They have a few too many guest stars on here. It's kind of like that's the new thing. If you're an artist, it's like throw as many guest artists as you can onto your records. Like we have like the first track right off the bat. Well, first two, you've got Chris Stapleton on one, and then you've got Hosier on the second. But there's really good stuff on here. Marcus Mumford is really matured as a songwriter. You've also got artists like Gigi Perez, Gracie Abrams. Uncredited on the album art is Bon Iver. He's also on here, Justin Vernon. So really, really good if you like the indie folk kind of stuff. But what was really cool, so the store had this listed for $10. Again, I use store credit. And there was no other marking on it. So I listened to it today. I'm filming this on the 30th of March because I don't think I have anything else coming in. Usually I like to wait until the month is over. But I opened it up, and this was inside. This is one of those signed inserts, albeit, look at those signatures. I mean, come on, guys. But it's the three squiggles from Mumford & Sons. And I did some quick research, and it does look like some of these were random in the CDs. So I got lucky with a signed insert. So that's kind of cool to have Mumford & Sons signed. So very cool. Another that I picked up in that kind of purchase of some store credit items is this album, Mutiny After Midnight by Johnny Blue Skies and the Dark Clouds. Now, those of you that know, anything about modern country music know that this is the new moniker of Sturgill Simpson. If you know Sturgill Simpson, he kind of really pulls vocally from a lot of those old outlaw guys like Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard. But he's kind of all over the place with his musical style. I mean, he's done kind of psychedelic country on his album, Meta Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music. He did a couple of albums of covers of his own songs called Cutting Grass, where he played them in bluegrass styles. He's done, again, straight ahead country, but he's also done pretty heavy rock stuff and almost like dance music, but he's turned to this moniker called Johnny Blue Skies. This is the second album under that name, the first with his new band, The Dark Clouds. 9 tracks, listen to it today, really good. If you like a mix of, he's got a southern accent, but it's not really, I don't consider this really a country album. There might be a song or two that kind of leans that way, but this is a really funky album. This has killer beats on it. It's got horns on it. It's also got a lot of almost like free jazz elements in a couple of the tracks, especially the last tune, but very political in nature as well. There's a lot of current events mentioned on this record. Sturgill is no stranger to politics. He's no stranger to criticizing the music industry. And actually, cool enough, this is only available physically on CD, vinyl, and cassette. It's nowhere on YouTube unless it's like a bootleg of it, and it's not on streaming. So good for Sturgill. Mutiny After Midnight. Check it out if you like some funky kind of music. And I guess the other two that I picked up from the store credit, I haven't listened to this yet, but I found Endless Wire by The Who. I don't see this one out much, but this is I guess, a deluxe version. This has the bonus DVD live at Lyon, in Lyon, France from July 2006. That has a lot of their big hits on there, but this was the last album from The Who for a while. The first album without John Entwistle. You've got Zach Starkey on here, obviously playing in place of the late Keith Moon. But yeah, really, really cool. You've got Pino Palladino, who took over for John Entwistle. Simon Townsend, who was Pete's younger brother. But the only song that I know on here is Tea and Theater, which they closed a lot of their shows with, especially even up until recently. But from 2006, this is already 20 years old, which is hard to believe. So Endless Wire by The Who, I'll be happy to have that. And I think that's the last Who album that I need between vinyl and CD formats. So I've completed my Who studio albums collection, which is cool. And I also found this. Haven't seen this in the wild. This is Electric Arguments by the Firemen. This is Paul McCartney. It's a collaboration he did with Youth, the producer, programmer, whatever you want to call him. This is from 2008. This comes with a booklet, very thick booklet. 13 tracks. I know the song Sing the Changes. He did that on his Good Evening New York City live concert, which I have, but I don't know much else about this. I know a couple of the other albums that he did as the Firemen were more techno and not really vocal. This is more of like from what I understand, more of an actual like straight ahead album. So be interested to have that, but I did not own it for my Paul McCartney collection. And then with the big announcement of his new record, I kind of was on a McCartney high. But anyway, last of the CDs that I purchased, I did a video about this already, but this came at the beginning of the month. This is Gene Parsons' Kindling. Gene Parsons, one of the latter members of the Byrds, drummer, but also a multi-instrumentalist, banjo, harmonica, guitar. He invented the B-bender guitar with Clarence White. This is a 5 CD set of his 2 albums, Kindling and Melodies, as well as a lot of live and unreleased stuff, or at least not physically. But very, very happy to have this. This is really, really cool. It's a lot of music. It's definitely a lot of music. So if you like country rock and that kind of stuff, if you like those later Byrds records, definitely check out Kindling. This was Strawberry Records, which is through Cherry Red Records, which are a really cool reissue label. So that does it for that. I did grab some, I did get some gifts from, one from a friend and then a few from my dad, who is very, very generous with my music obsession here. So my buddy Ross, hey there, Ross. Ross is a good friend of mine. Known him for a few years now. Ross and I are in a group chat with a couple other guys, and we like to talk music, as a lot of us do. And Ross mentioned that he was listening to Arcade Fire from Montreal. Now, I only knew their name. I've probably heard a few of their songs. Actually, I know I've heard a few of their songs on like Sirius XM, but never have given them any time of day. Couldn't have told you what kind of music they are. So Ross generously asked for my address and gifted me The Suburbs and the record by Arcade Fire. This is really cool. I need to go back in and listen to it again because I didn't realize it was going to be kind of a concept record. But again, very indie alternative. It kind of has maybe a little bit of the tones of like the Killers, but I'm sure you all know a lot more about Arcade Fire than I do. It's definitely going to be a grower, but my first listen to it was really good. So thank you so much, Ross. That was very nice. And yeah, happy to have it. My dad sent me a couple of things. He bought me this is called Cooking on All Burners by the Tal Farlow Quartet. This is fantastic for you jazz fans. I'd never heard of Tal. This is a great record. 9 songs from 1983. Although it's not a dated 80s record. It sounds very much like, your Kenny Burrells and, people like that. Antonio Jobim, kind of that kind of style. Or Carlos Jobim, you know who I mean, Jal Gilberto. Anyway, but he does like some of the standards by Cole Porter, Johnny Mercer. So there's good stuff like I Thought About You, Love Letters. Really, really good stuff. It's just great guitar jazz, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that was from my dad. He also gave me this. Him and Mom came to visit us here for a little bit, just about a week ago. And he knew that I went to go see Pat Metheny, and my dad said he had had this CD for years called Secret Story, and he gave it to me. And I've not listened to it yet, from 1992. I didn't know really anything about Pat Metheny, but I'm very interested to hear this. I think, what was it? Yeah, Master by Ted Jensen at Sterling Sound. So very, very happy to have this. So thank you, Dad, for giving me my first Pat Metheny record. And my dad also gave me this album, which I had heard before on CD, but did not own the vinyl. This is Shoot Out the Lights by Richard and Linda Thompson. Obviously, Richard from Fairfort Convention, Pentangle. This is a really, really solid songwriter record. And I really enjoyed the song Wall of Death, especially. Shoot Out the Lights, great stuff. So thank you so much, Dad, for this on the Hannibal label there. But yeah, thanks so much, Dad. Another record that I needed for that I got through store credit was this album, which I'd never seen. It was called Red, White, and Bluegrass. Now, initially, I looked at the label and I was like, "That's pretty cool." And then, bluegrass records are like jazz. Like you kind of got to look to see who's playing on it. So first of all, it's shaped like a can of watermelons. But that's the spine right there for display. But it was displayed like this. So there was some. I turned it around and was looking, what this was, and I saw the name Norman Blake. Who I love. He's one of my favorite guitar players. This is kind of before he was really doing his own thing. He had played in a lot of studio sessions. He was playing with Dylan a lot, Bob Dylan. But I saw the song Ginseng Sullivan, which I knew was a Norman Blake bluegrass tune. But this has Grant and Ginger Boatwright, who I did not know, Dale Whitcomb on the banjo, and Dave Seabolt. But yeah, knew nothing about this. It was a very, very cool find. I know I was happy to grab it. Again, it was, $12 listed on the GRC label, which again, as a label I don't know. But yeah, kind of that 70s, like hippie bluegrass kind of music. I really enjoyed it. Again, only gave it a listen because I've had a lot of music to listen to in this month of March. So yeah, Red, White, and Bluegrass. I think it was the one and only album by them, at least with Norman Blake. That's what I mean. I think it was the only album that they did with Norman. I might be wrong about that, but anyway. And then the last 3 here are reissues. So the first, speaking of bluegrass, Real Gone Music did a couple of different Tony Rice related albums in the last couple of years. And so I was really happy when they announced that they were going to do another one for this year. And I did reach out to Real Gone and I said, is there any plan for the rest of this year? And they said right now they don't have any more Tony Rice records on, on call, to remaster and repackage. But this is Manzanita by the Tony Rice Unit. And I'm sorry for the glare. It is still in the shrink. But this is fantastic. A lot of people consider this Tony Rice's definitive album. I know my buddy Glenn Kellaway loves this. I know Elliot Cruz did a review of this as well. But this is the Type Sticker 1979 Progressive Bluegrass Classic featuring, listen to this lineup, Sam Bush, Ricky Skaggs, Jerry Douglas, David Grisman, Daryl Anger, and Todd Phillips. Now, a lot of those guys were already playing with Tony in the in J.D. Crowe and New South, like Jerry Douglas, Ricky Skaggs, Todd Phillips. David Grisman, obviously, he had been hanging out with the Grateful Dead. He was kind of doing his own thing. I know Tony played on some of his records. Him and Tony and Jerry Garcia were all hanging out together. This is just absolutely fantastic. It's on this root beer vinyl, which I wish they would have gone with a different color simply because they had already done the root beer color vinyl for the J.D. Crowe and the New South album that came out last year. But you have some classic songs on here. You've got Ginseng Sullivan on here by Norman Blake that I just mentioned from the previous album. You have Home from the Forest by Gordon Lightfoot. You've got Hold What You Got by Jimmy Martin. 9 Pound Hammer, the classic bluegrass tune by Merle Travis. Blackberry Blossom, which is a traditional tune that arranged by Tony Rice. Norman Blake had an album called Blackberry Blossom, but then you've got some original Tony Rice tunes like the title track, Manzanita. A lot of original tunes. Old Train is on here by Herb Peterson, who was playing with Chris Hillman a lot. From the Flying Burrito Brothers and the Byrds. So this is a fantastic record. It's one of those, and like Elliot said, a lot of times when you think Tony Rice Unit, you think jazz. This is more traditional bluegrass because it's not really the Tony Rice Unit that would tour, which really included a couple of his brothers, including Wyatt Rice. But yeah, very, very great that Real Gone is putting those out between them and Craft Music, Craft Recordings. Hopefully we get some more. This was probably the biggest surprise to come out this year for me so far. I didn't think this would be, it wasn't even on my radar, but I am very disappointed with the packaging. One of my favorite bands is celebrating their 20th anniversary. That's the Wood Brothers. And they, for the first time, put out their very first album, Ways Not to Lose. Originally put out on Blue Note. This still has the Blue Note information on the back. This is kind of the album that started it all. You obviously had the two brothers, Oliver and Chris, who were playing with different groups, came together, put this out. Probably had no, I don't think they had any intention of lasting for 20 years. But yeah, very, very cool to have it on vinyl to add to my Wood Brothers collection. Hopefully that means some of those earlier records will also receive the same treatment. Because this was originally put out in 2006, so vinyl was not really a thing for the masses. But this has their big song on here, Luckiest Man. Also some live staples that they're always doing, like Atlas, Chocolate on My Tongue, One More Day, Glad. They do a great version of the old gospel tune, Angel Band. But yeah, very happy to have it on vinyl. It does have a really cool, it did come with polyline sleeves, which is great. Custom label. So, whoops. All of that is great. I'm glad that they didn't cheap out on the insert. What I'm upset about is, this record was, $25, and then shipping, you're looking at, $31, $32 after it's all said and done. There was no insert in this thing. And the sleeve itself is very thin and very loose. It's not, it's not your tip-on jacket. It's very disappointing to have the Blue Note label associated with it. And for the price that they're charging, I was expecting a little bit more of a more like I was expecting them to kind of cater to their fan more, knowing that a lot of their fans are record collectors, and that the Wood Brothers are so good about putting out so many of their records with custom colors and just really catering to the physical music collector. So that's my complaint. Wood Brothers, if you do any more of these, please, let's make the covers a little bit more durable. And then lastly, I just got this today, just under the wire in the month of March. This is the album Songs for Swingin' Lovers. I know a lot of people are talking about. This is the Tone Poet second Frank Sinatra series, second of the Frank Sinatra series. They just put out during the last half of last year the album prior to this, In the Wee Small Hours, which is a very dark concept kind of record. This is a much more joyful, upbeat record. This really plays like a greatest hits. And again, it's a Tone Poet, so you're getting all the best, the beautiful photos in the inside of Sinatra, glossy finish, all the stuff that you want, and they do a stand-up job. But I mean, the songs on here, I mean, you've got You Make Me Feel So Young, Too Marvelous for Words, Pennies from Heaven, Love Is Here to Stay, I've Got You Under My Skin, I Thought About You, Making Whoopee, Anything Goes. It's just so good. It's got the arrangements from Nelson Riddle on the orchestra, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Mastering coherent audio by Kevin Gray. This is fantastic. Now, I will say, and you Sinatra nerds can, let me get it over here. I do have this strange, interesting copy that I believe my buddy Anthony, Gambler812, gave me, and I can't get it out. It's in there. But this is I'm assuming this is a reissue, a little bit later. But if you notice the cover of, Ghost Frank in the back, very different. And the people on this cover are a lot more bright than here. So I don't know. It's interesting that, I mean, this is this was cut in mono, so this is the mono press. I believe this is this is mono too. So I don't know. Again, slightly different packaging. I don't really understand the difference in the packaging, so let me know about that. But that's a long video for just the few records that I showed, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you all so much for watching. Please, comment, do all that stuff. I appreciate all the support that people have given me over the last couple of videos. Again, this is posting. I'm not sure if there's a video between it, but thank you all for watching those Pet Sounds videos. It really means a lot. Hopefully there'll be a few more of those once we get closer to release date, and we can kind of talk about the music on the records. So in the meantime, there'll be more out there. That does it for me. In the meantime, y'all be good, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.